What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. We are at episode 42. Yep. We're at episode 42 now. And hey, it's Tuesday, September 16th, around a little past 6 a.m. All my early birds out there, give me a shout out. Hopefully, you're getting started for work. Hopefully, had a good yesterday. Hey, we're just trying to make that money. It's Tuesday. We got to make it till Friday, or hopefully. But if you got to work over the weekend, hey, just make that money. But we got a couple things to go over. We got some updates for Tyler Robinson. We got people getting fired over their comments. And National Guard to Memphis. So we got a couple of things to talk about today. I believe we got 9 topics today. 9 topics. I'm gonna try to usually do around 7 to 9 at the most. That way I can be uploading every single day, so everybody can get all the information. But like always, thank you for watching now. Thank you for watching later. Like, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Hey, and let's just review the world together. Let's review the world together. Remember, I am your host, AC, the engineer. If you ever have any videos that you want me to review, just go ahead and send them to my email. It's in my description, but it's also, AC Reviews the World, a dot after the N, dot after the C at gmail.com. But you know how I like to do it. I like to get right into it. The camera get right. Yep, there we go. Let's get right into it, y'all. The first thing I want to get into today is, of course, you got to talk about the Tyler Robinson updates. We're just going to go through a few videos of that and see what we think about it. But let's get right into it. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. So let's get into this first video. Let's break it down.
I do want to get back to the latest here on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk as we continue to learn new details here. Brooke Singman over at Fox Digital posting this a short time ago saying, exclusive, Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson lived with his transgender partner, according to sources. The individual, who is a male transitioning to a female, is fully cooperating with the FBI. Sources tell me the FBI had texts and other communications between Robinson and the individual that helped FBI authorities solidify that Robinson was indeed the shooter. Again, Robinson has been named the suspect and is in custody. The last question Charlie Kirk answered before he was murdered was, quote, "Do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Charlie replied, quote, "Too many." He was then asked, quote, "Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Charlie replied, quote, "Counting or not counting gang violence, Charlie was then assassinated." Again, those details there coming from Brooke Singman over at Fox. And we do continue to cover everything.
Now, I just want to say, like always, but no matter how, like, this is how I feel. Of course, you're allowed to feel however you want to, but no matter what a person says, there are some things, yes, I did not agree with what Charlie said, but I will never advocate for violence or cheer or praise violence that happens to anybody who's just making their living, speaking who they making their living, speaking what they feel and what they believe. I will never advocate for violence. I would just main thing is just have a debate with people. If you disagree with them, debate about it, and just hey, that's all we can do. But let's keep going into this. Let's keep going.
Related to the assassination here as we learn more about what to expect in the coming days. The Utah County District Attorney now saying that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, seen in these mugshots here, will be formally charged with Kirk's murder Tuesday ahead of his initial court appearance. And it also seems that Attorney General Pam Bondi and the DOJ are weighing the idea of federal charges in that case. As for how Robinson was identified as the suspect, the FBI says his father recognized him in surveillance photos that were released Thursday as investigators did look for a person of interest. Those are the photos there on your screen. The Associated Press reporting that Robinson's father told him to turn himself in, and at first he refused, but then changed his mind. Now, we're also hearing from investigators that it appears that Robinson is not commenting here. He is not cooperating with law enforcement as they question him, working here to determine a motive. Take a look at this video right here as you can see students and others running here. We know that Charlie Kirk was shot there with a single bullet Wednesday as he spoke at an event on the campus of Utah Valley University where he was answering a question at the time. Video released by the FBI had shown the suspected gunman on the roof of a nearby building and then climbing down. The agency saying they found a rifle nearby in a wooded area as well as bullets that had messages written on them. And of course, Governor Cox went over some of those messages during a news conference after the arrest of Robinson. Again, at this point, we know that Robinson is expected to appear for his first court appearance on Tuesday there. It's not clear if cameras will be allowed inside of the courtroom, but if they are, we're going to make sure to bring those to you right here on Live Now from Fox.
Okay. Well, let's get over into this next video and see what happens. See what's more details so we can see. Oh, wrong one. That's one right here. Let's get into it.
Investigators say they're still searching for a motive in the assassination of political activist Charlie Kirk as he spoke at Utah Valley University last week. Sources telling ABC News the suspected shooter, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, turned himself in after his father recognized him in these photos and urged his son to come forward. Those sources say the suspect initially said no, but later changed his mind.
He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating. But all the people around him are cooperating.
In a brief phone interview with NBC,
that's good. That's good. They said that he's not that the people around him, even though he's not cooperating, the people around him are. So that's good.
President Trump repeated unfounded claims that what he calls the radical left is promoting violence.
If it were up to me, I think you need to take the word radical and remove right or left. And radical coming from any direction is not good, it's not healthy, and it should be called out.
Colorado's Democratic governor pushing back against the president's claims.
This is about the acts of an individual, the inexcusable, evil acts of an individual. And there have been more of those in different places at different times. The assassination of the Speaker of the Minnesota Assembly, shooting here in Colorado. Whatever motivates these acts, the fault and the responsibility lie with the perpetrator.
The suspect is...
Exactly. He's 100% the fault. It lies with the people who did it.
Being held on suspicion of aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and felony discharge of a firearm. Charges are expected to be formally filed on Tuesday. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox continues to call for unity as the country recovers from another act of political violence.
every one of us has to make a decision. Are we going to hate our neighbor? Are we going to hate the other side? Are we going to return violence with violence? Or are we going to find a different path?
Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Orem, Utah.
Yep. There's no need for political violence anywhere. That's my thoughts. We talked about it the other day with France. Any kind of violence, the best way to fight against what you believe is right, or fight against what you believe is happening that is wrong, and if you want to protest, is to do it peacefully. That's my thinking. But let's get over into this next video. This one looks like that the FBI director says that Tyler Robinson allegedly justifies shooting in some unveiled text messages. So let's get over into that and see what it's talking about. Let's get into it. Oh, hold on.
Patel Cash, thanks for being with us. Is there an investigation into a wider plot?
Sean, thanks so much for having me. And because President Trump and the Attorney General have prioritized resources to this all-important investigation, we're dedicating every asset we have to run the reverse daisy chain analysis of anyone that was in contact with a suspect that's currently in custody, and anyone he contacted, called, and text messaged, and had chats on online social media platforms with. That's the power of the FBI. That's the resources we brought in immediately with our cell phone analytic team to use the cell phone tower data dump system to geolocate specifically where this cell phone was and who had it, and after that, who he was talking to. And Sean, let me tell you a little bit about the information we've collected. We've collected information where, through witness interviews from the FBI and local law enforcement, that he essentially admitted after the shooting and assassination of Charlie Kirk, the suspect admitted to it. Furthermore, the evidence and information will come out. I won't stylize the evidence. The Attorney General is absolutely right. We can't do that. But I will say what was found in terms of information, a text message exchange where the suspect specifically stated that he had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and he was going to do that. And when he was asked why, he said some hatred cannot be negotiated with.
Yeah, you're also running an investigation on what's called the Discord chat room, which has scores of people on it, and texts between the suspect and the partner. I assume that those discussions are ongoing?
Absolutely. In order to properly adjudicate this matter and let law enforcement hand off information into evidence for a court of law for prosecution, we have to go out and get search warrants. We have to go out and get search warrants of the identifiers that were then built off of the prior search warrants. And we are doing that. And we are going to be interviewing scores of people on not just these chats on Discord, but any communications that this individual have. We've seized multiple electronic devices from the home of the suspect and his romantic partner. We've got computers, we've got laptops, we've got gaming systems, we've got cell phones. All of that is being triaged by the FBI because that's what we do. And the resources that the Attorney General has dedicated to this mission is allowing us to move at the speed we have. As you said, 33 hours. 33 hours, Sean, this individual was apprehended. And on the night...
Let me ask you. Because 33 hours, and I did mention Luigi Mangione, and I did mention the Sarnoff brothers and the Boston bombing, and I did talk about the Centennial Park bomber Eric Rudolph and Ted Kaczynski. 33 hours, 2 hours after the video footage was enhanced and released, the suspect's father turned him in. And you got criticized for doing that, and I'm criticized for going out to the crime scene, and I'm having a hard time understanding what people's expectations are.
Sean, my expectation is delivered to the mission and the resources the men and women the FBI need and to produce. And that's what we did here. When you're talking about things like going out to a crime scene, that's how you investigate that matter properly. And when you're talking about why did it take 33 hours, well, I made the operational decision to immediately release enhanced videos and photographs of the suspect because the operational call that I made for the FBI said we are about to smoke this guy out, and his family and friends and his internal network is going to assist it. And this is the operation I want to highlight in terms of transparency. The FBI is traditionally an organization that has not been transparent. My mission to the American public, as I said in my confirmation here, I am going to work with you to make this organization as transparent as possible, including during investigations, so that we restore trust in the FBI and the integrity of the FBI that was jettisoned away by the fools that weaponized it. And when I said that, I meant it, and you saw it in action. And no one should be criticizing anyone but me if they got a problem with it. The men and women of the FBI handled this brilliantly. And as you said, Boston and the Luigi Mangione case happened in downtown metropolises with thousands of people around, and it still took them 5 days. So if you got a criticism, make a fair criticism and bring it to my feet. And I promise you the men and women of the FBI will respond like we did in this manhunt for Charlie Kirk's assassin.
Let me, to the extent you can talk about the possibility of a wider plot or other people's involvement in this, that would be a chilling scenario to me. John Solomon, who I'm pretty sure you know, had a piece out there about a radicalized group close to the area, up in the mountains. They seem to be very radical with the same agenda. Does that concern you, what you're seeing?
All of it concerns me, Sean, but I can't divulge every investigative step we're taking because I don't want to disclose who we're going after and why we're going after them. Obviously, it's been leaked about this Discord chat, so we're going to discuss it a little bit. But what the FBI does is identify, catalog, and bring in experts. That's what we were doing. Round the clock, flying in people, evidence response teams, hostage rescue teams, special operators on our FBI planes, and transporting evidence back in real time from the crime scene in the West Coast to our labs in Quantico to address the situation of forensics immediately. And you highlighted the screwdriver that was found on top of the roof and the towel in which the firearm was found, the ravine that I walked myself along with the rooftop. I said, we cannot waste a second on this DNA analysis. And we were announced today on Fox that the DNA was a positive match for the suspect in question. That's hard forensics at work. That's your FBI moving at rocket speed to deliver transparency and information about an ongoing investigation. And we felt it appropriate for the American public to know this.
Wow. So that is the updates. That is the updates for what we know right now about Tyler Robinson. The news is reporting that, one, he had a transgender lover, or his boyfriend was transgender, or girlfriend was transgender. I'm sorry. And they have a positive match on the DNA that was found on the towels that was recovered that wrapped the weapon. But let me know your thoughts on everything. But yeah, but it sounds like he's not cooperating, but the people around him are. Hey, they're gonna find out what they need to find out. Absolutely wild, everybody. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. And we'll just keep up with everything and see where this takes us. But we have to, speaking of Charlie Kirk, we have to go over into the people who are getting fired over their comments. Yes, we got people who are getting fired over their comments. They're right after Charlie death. We talked about it in the last show that people were making comments celebrating the death, and some people are idiots. And they do things without thinking about what can happen. I've always said it. I've said it before. We have the freedom of speech to say what we want in this country, but there are consequences to your actions. Now, the consequences can be good and the consequences can be bad. It just depends on what you say and who is listening. There are things that you know that your job would not agree with you saying on the internet, and you said it anyway. You got to be careful when you work a 9 to 5, just like I do. I'm careful with what I say. I review the news. I say criminals need to go to jail, simple stuff like that. Yes, you have to be careful with what you say. But let's get over into this. We got a few videos to watch with this. But it's everywhere, y'all. A lot of people from different companies, all different countries, are getting fired because they just don't think about what they're going to put out there. So let's get over into it and see what it's talking about.
A Mariposa County High School staff member is under investigation while a part-time faculty member at College of Sequoias is on administrative leave. Parents and students up and down the valley are blasting comments that seem to celebrate the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. They say they're inappropriate no matter what your political beliefs are.
I don't know if this teacher should be fired, but I want us all to agree that no authority figure should be condoning political violence.
Multiple Mariposa County parents angrily addressed the school board during its monthly meeting Thursday.
A teacher who allegedly stated they were glad Charlie Kirk is dead and told MAGA kids to go home and cry.
Parents say there's no room for these comments in the classroom.
These comments send a harmful message that individuals who share Charlie Kirk's opinions or beliefs are somehow deserving of violence or death.
The Mariposa County Unified School District sent parents a statement this week and reads in part, "We are currently investigating a complaint involving alleged comments made by a Mariposa County high school staff member." Over in Tulare County, a College of Sequoias student took this video.
Yeah, I hope every one of his family dies, and their children, and their grandchildren, and their grandchildren,
This is a teacher?
and their grandchildren to eternity.
The student, who wants to remain anonymous, says prior to pulling out her phone, the teacher told the biology class that he watched the assassination of Kirk on loop for an hour.
I just was very
That's
disgusted.
disgusting.
I couldn't even stay in the class. I walked out and I was just brought to tears because as someone that watched the video and saw how terrible it was, it just made me so uncomfortable to see that.
Yeah, she's 100% right. I've watched. If you're into the news and stuff like that, I've watched the video of that assassination. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. It was ugly, gruesome, and you got to be careful when you watch it. I can't imagine them saying that to students, that I watched it on loop for 24 hours, and that he hopes that all their family dies. Yeah, some people aren't meant to be teachers.
Someone could say something like that.
She says this isn't the first time he shared his political view in class. The College of Sequoia sent us a statement saying the part-time faculty member was placed on administrative leave and a full-time employee has taken over the course.
The school districts are going to have to take a look at the contract and see if the contract was violated in some way.
Fresno-based legal analyst David Mugridge says whether these educators can be fired depends on multiple factors. If their contracts don't outline what they can or can't say in an educational setting, he says the school could relieve a teacher for disrupting the classroom. But he says there's little defense for encouraging violence.
For me as a teacher to go into a classroom and suggest that somebody deserved to die and his family should likewise die all the way down to his dogs in his 10th generation, that's inciting violence. And I don't think any contract would protect somebody from saying that.
And of course, we'll follow this situation and see if those lead to any terminations. Reporting live in studio, I'm Hannah.
See, like I've said it before, some people are stupid. Now that teacher has to go home, or whoever is getting fired has to go home. Imagine this: you go home, you got your spouse over there, and you walk in. If this is a man, you walk in, and she asks you, "How was work today?" Next thing you know, well, baby, it was hard. I got let go. Oh, I didn't know your company was doing layoffs. Now you got to explain to her, no, it wasn't layoffs. It was that you was making comments about Charlie Kirk right after he died. She's going to look at you like you're stupid. But, hey, like I said, you, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, there are consequences to your actions. They can be good and they can be bad. You have to weigh those options when you say stuff on the internet. Especially if you work a 9 to 5. You can't be out here saying just whatever you want. But let's go over into this next video.
As we continue to learn more about the alleged assassin who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, we're also seeing a cascade of people being fired for their comments, appearing to celebrate Kirk's passing, including Office Depot, which fired a worker for refusing to print a memorial poster. Also, the NFL's Carolina Panthers football team said they fired an employee for a social media post appearing to mock Kirk's death. And then Bengals player nonprofit, the Joe Burrow Foundation, also fired an advisory board member who they say made inappropriate remarks in light of recent events. News Nation's Jorge Ventura live with more. And Jorge, we know the list is growing of more workers being fired from their jobs. What's the latest on this?
Yeah, that's right, Natasha. Those firings are racking up, and many of those social media posts either mocking or celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk are actually being amplified by conservative influencers or activists with large accounts. Some of these accounts, like Libs of TikTok, have over 4 million followers and are encouraging their audience to contact the employers of those making the posts. And one of those companies facing the online backlash from Kirk supporters is Delta Airlines, the company announcing the suspension and investigation into some of their employees, saying that their social media posts went well beyond healthy, respectful debate, and that they were in stark contrast to the company's policies. We've also seen the NASDAQ firing a junior level employee on Friday as well. The NASDAQ also citing zero tolerance policy towards violence and commentary that condones or celebrates the murder of Charlie Kirk. And we are seeing this across the board in different jobs and sectors. The Guilford Technical Community College in North Carolina recently announcing that they terminated a part-time instructor for similar reasons, citing that the social media posts did not share the college's respectful and learning working environment. And now Clemson University also under fire. Now we have South Carolina Congressman Thomas Beach calling for cuts to the university's funding at the professors posted celebratory remarks. The hashtag Clemson on X is also trending right now because of it. We have also now seen a new statement from Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy today saying that American airline pilots were grounded and removed because they were caught celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, also saying that the behavior is, quote, disgusting and should be fired, and that their behavior glorifying political violence is completely unacceptable. And this spree of firings have even gone local to employees at law firms and restaurants. But we're seeing this massive campaign right now, especially on X and Tasha, of these huge accounts with millions of followers encouraging their audiences to contact the employers and making this push. Natasha.
Yeah, Jorge Ventura tracking that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
100, yes. We talked about that last time. There are people on Twitter, if you just go on Twitter, they will post all your information. They will post everything. Where you work, where you stay at, who you are, your email. They won't post your address or anything. I haven't seen that because that'd be crazy. But yeah, the internet is going to hunt you down. And the stuff on the internet. Wow. Let's get over into this last video.
The fallout from Charlie Kirk's killing has spread to the workplace. People are getting fired for comments that seem to celebrate or glorify the assassination of the MAGA activist and father of 2 young children. These companies and organizations have reported either terminating or suspending employees for posts about Kirk, and that includes Middle Tennessee State University firing a worker they say had, quote, zero empathy for Kirk's death. Conservative activists, Republican lawmakers, and even a doxing website are flagging the comments in what critics say is a campaign to punish those posters. Let's bring in Jessica Kriegel, the Chief Strategy Officer of Culture Partners. Jessica, thanks so much for being here with us. Look, there is, of course, the First Amendment and freedom to speech in this country, but there's also private companies who hire people, and it would seem to me if it's a private company, they get to decide who they want to hire and fire. What do you think?
Absolutely. They don't need a reason to fire you if you're an at-will employee, which most workers in the U.S. are at-will contracts. So they can fire you because you wore green instead of blue one day. It doesn't matter. Really, what the leader's job at these private employers is to identify the workers who are aligned with the culture that they're trying to cultivate, the strategy that they have to achieve their results towards their purpose. So with American Airlines, for example, they said that the person was suspended because it didn't align with their purpose, which is to care for people on life's journeys. That's a perfectly legitimate and actually best practice for how you make decisions around hiring and firing.
And what about a public sector worker? Are standards different there?
Yeah, certainly. So with the government, it's a little bit different, right? And so what they do with the government, there is the Pickering balancing test, which looks essentially back from a 1968 Supreme Court case, which asked the question, does this worker's freedom of speech disrupt the government agency's ability to perform its work? And if it does, such as, for example, creating disharmony in the workplace, then that freedom of speech isn't necessarily protected. And so there is different standards, there's a higher bar. However, there still is the ability to, if someone is, for example, inciting violence, that is not protected speech, even for a government worker.
And so how do you think, I mean, you've outlined all of this well, but look, in the world of social media, where somebody can write something and it lives there for a while, or anybody can find anything, how do you think companies are navigating this? How should they be navigating this?
The great leaders are pausing. There is public pressure sometimes to act quickly, and then we get spun into this endless activity trap of trying to react, and we call that the action trap. But great CEOs are taking a moment, they're pausing, they're looking at what experience do I want to create for the workers who are employed here? What beliefs do I want them to hold about me as an employee, myself, the CEO? What do I want them to hold? What beliefs do I want them to hold about the company? And then they're making decisions accordingly. A lot of the CEOs are getting headlines right now because they're firing or suspending people, but there are probably 10 times as many CEOs who are having conversations with employees. They've seen something, they call the person up, they have a conversation, what's going on, and then they're acting appropriately after having more understanding.
All right, Jessica Kriegel, thanks for your...
Yeah, there are some, employees that will call you up, especially if you're close with your supervisors and everything. They'll call you up, be like, hey, this was brought to my attention. Will you take all the stuff down, or will you take it down? Or will you issue a statement saying that that's not what you meant? Something like that. But some, like she said, they're at-will employees. So the company gets to decide to let you go. They don't have to, it's hard, they don't have to give a reason. And and I recently saw this, if you did something that's goes against or violates the conduct laws or conduct rules of your job, you might not get unemployment. You might not get unemployment. You just have to be careful what you put out there. I myself work a 9 to 5. Or not, those are not my hours, but 9 to 5, you know what I mean, 9 to 5. And the most thing I do, I talk about the news. I say criminals need to go to jail. And that's it. I'm not going to say anything crazy. Why? Because my 9 to 5 is my job. That's my primary source. But some people don't care. Some people don't think. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. But let me know your thoughts, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Have you been seeing any people getting fired at your job for what they say or the comments that they made? But people need to be smarter. People need to be smarter. That's my thinking. But let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe. But let's go. We got to get over into Trump. It seems like he is planning to send the National Guard over to Memphis. So we're going to look at that video. And then we also got the Memphis mayor saying how he feels about it. Like I've said before, if the National Guard comes in and they're willing to work with the police in that area, and their only goal is to drive down crime, I don't really see a problem with it. But if you feel differently, let me know. But let's get over into this. Oh, hold on. Nope. Let's get over into this. What did I do? Wrong thing. There it is. Let's get into it.
President Trump is escalating his use of National Guard troops to crack down on crime in major cities. His next target, Memphis. Trump appeared to shelve plans to send troops to Chicago. Instead, he said he will deploy the National Guard to what he called the deeply troubled Tennessee city. The city's Democratic mayor said he did not ask for federal intervention, but that they are coming and that he would work with them. Willie James Inman is in New Jersey, where the president is spending part of the weekend. Willie? Good morning.
Michelle, good morning to you. It was an emotional week for President Trump and White House officials as they mourned the loss of close ally Charlie Kirk. But the president is also focused on part of his domestic agenda, including fighting crime by deploying the National Guard.
This weekend, President Trump is expanding his crackdown on crime across the U.S. with a new target city, Memphis.
So we're going to Memphis. I'm just announcing that now, and we'll straighten that out.
National Guard?
The National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it. But National Guard.
The plan could look similar to what's taking place in the nation's capital, where Trump deployed more than 2,000 National Guard troops.
Look at what we did in D.C. We took D.C., probably the single worst place in the country in terms of crime. There's no crime. It's a crime-free area.
In a statement, Tennessee's Republican Governor Bill Lee said he has been working with the White House for months to develop a plan to combat violent crime in Memphis. Lee says the deployment of the National Guard will be phase 2 of an ongoing operation targeting violent crime in Memphis, which involves the FBI, state, and local law enforcement.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy.
Memphis Democratic Mayor Paul Young called Trump's comment on Fox News an overstatement during a press conference on Friday and added his powers as mayor are limited.
I do not support the National Guard. However, they are coming. It's not the mayor's call. The mayor doesn't have a say or the authority to stop them from coming.
Earlier this month, the Memphis Police Department said crime has dropped to a 25-year low.
President Trump said he would have preferred to deploy the National Guard to Chicago, but he's faced pushback from Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker, who called the president's plan to deploy the National Guard to American streets disturbing. Dana?
All right, Willie, thank you.
So let's get over into this next video. And this is what the mayor had to say about it when he was interviewed. And they say that MSNBC was trying to get him to get his reaction. Let's get it.
Mayor of Memphis, Paul Young.
Mayor Young, if we can just start with some clarity. I've talked to a lot of mayors across the country. I've talked to Muriel Bowser of Washington, D.C. We've spoken with Mayor Johnson. I'm wondering, all the mayors say the same thing. They say, look, we want the federal resources from the federal government, and that the federal government has cut the budgets. Do you want the National Guard in your city?
No, we definitely want a partnership with the federal government on providing the resources that we need. We have seen significant reduction in crime over the last 2 years, and we want to keep that trend going. And we feel like those resources that can be invested in things like the prevention and intervention and the groups that we have out on the streets that are working with these individuals and changing the course of their lives. That's one way. And also investing with our law enforcement partners. That's the way to really change the course of crime in our communities. But we understand that a decision has been made that the federal government and the governor want to send the National Guard, and our goal is to make sure that we have an opportunity to work with them and align what their activities look like when they come into this community.
Mr. Mayor, help me understand, because I'm a little bit confused. How long has the Republican governor of the state of Tennessee been the governor?
I think Governor Lee has been in office for about 7 years. Next year will be his last year.
7 years.
Yeah.
7 years. And he's just noticing now that Memphis has a crime problem. So much so under his watch, he did nothing about it. I'm really helping me understand how, before you get to federal resources, as a former state official, statewide official, lieutenant governor of my state, I know that if there was a particular area that had to deal with crime, and certainly there were parts of Maryland that did, the first call for help was not from the federal government. It was working with the city, working with the county, working with the municipalities to create solutions in our state. And if it was beyond our capacity, sir, then maybe we would call for federal help. But so I don't understand what's different. It wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that Memphis is a largely black municipality, would it?
Yeah. So Memphis is the largest majority black city in the nation. It's something that I wear as a badge of honor, and I think it's something that we should be proud of. I will say that Governor Lee, certainly he can speak for himself, but I will say that they have been partners with the city on a number of initiatives they've supported with Tennessee Highway Patrol, helping us on our interstates, and they provide significant funding in the form of violent crime intervention funds that help with some of those intervention and prevention strategies that I talked about. I'll have to let him speak to his position on the National Guard itself, but my goal as mayor of the city is to make sure that whatever decisions that are made that are outside the control of me as mayor, that we figure out how to turn it into a win for our community, and that's my goal in this situation.
I want you to take a listen to what the mayor of Shelby County, Tennessee, had to say about this news.
To have individuals with military fatigue, semi-automatic weapons, and armored vehicles patrolling our streets is way too far. It's anti-democratic and it's anti-American. The way you can take away democratic liberties is to make sure that people don't have a way to protest. And the way you do that is to patrol the city with military personnel. The other way is you stifle the military in such a way that the military begins to comply even when the orders are unlawful.
Mayor Young, do you share those concerns?
I'll say, well, pause it for a second. I don't, because he said that having military presence will stop protests. If it's peaceful protests, I don't think they'll do anything. At least that's my thinking. But hey, but let's keep going into this.
Well, I think there are many in the community that are concerned and they're scared. They want to know how things are going to look in our city if and when this takes place. And so my goal as mayor is to make sure that we continue the dialogues with the governor and with the federal government to make sure that we have a clear understanding of where they're going to be patrolling, what are they going to be wearing, what times will they be assigned for the work. Those are all dialogues that we're looking forward to having over the next week or two as we get deeper into this discussion.
Mayor, I guess I'm just wondering, what in Washington, D.C., where, you know, the chairman and I, we live in D.C. I'm in New York right now with Ms. Menendez here. But in Washington, D.C., the National Guard is picking up trash. They are literally, ANC commissioners have sent out emails asking for suggestions from the citizens of the district about what beautification projects the National Guard can participate in. So what exactly can the Guard do for you in Memphis, Tennessee? Like, you got a trash problem? I thought some of the things that you have been working on in terms of working with the violence interrupters, talking to the gangs, those kind of things are things that I'm familiar with that you have been engaged on, that have worked to bring some of to try to get your arms around the issue of crime in your city. What is the National Guard going to do for you? And I'm asking in this way because I hear you saying it's your understanding they're coming, but what they gonna do when they get there?
Well, I mean, we're still working to figure that out, but I certainly have a list of things that I think they could help with. We do have issues with blight in our community, and if there is a way for them to help support our team on that front, we have a deficit of about 300 to 500 officers that we need. And while they won't be serving in a law enforcement capacity, there may be things that they can do on major events and help coordinate traffic and things like that when we have big crowds as we get into football season with the University of Memphis or Grizzlies game. So I think that as we have conversations, we can certainly find ways to use their support to back up the efforts of our Memphis Police Department and our Shelby County Sheriff's Department.
So, hey, he said it. He said that, yes, we have places where we can use them. When we got a shortage of 300 to 500 officers, they can come in and help assist us. They might not can do criminal stuff, but they can assist us and back us up. So it sounds like, even though he's a Democratic mayor, some people are saying, all Democratic mayors are not going to support this, but he's a Democratic mayor. And he said, yes, if they're coming to work together with us, which sounds like to me from Trump and they're both willing to work together. Trump is willing to have the National Guard work with the people, work with the mayors of the city. Some mayors don't want them to work together. They refuse to assist them in anything. Like, but if he has a plan for where they can go, I don't see a problem with it. I don't see a problem. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, but they are coming. They are coming to Memphis. They are coming to Memphis. But look, we got to get over into some crime. We got to get over into some crime. It looks like a 16-year-old. Yes, I said it. A 16-year-old kills her 34-year-old mother. Yes, we got to get over into this. Got 2 videos to watch with this. But what can drive a 16-year-old to kill her mother? Absolutely crazy. But let's get over into it and see if we can break down what is happening. Let's get into it.
Tragedy unfolding in a neighborhood in Galveston. Police say a 16-year-old is accused of shooting and killing her own mother. And now investigators are trying to figure out why.
Yeah,
the shooting happened just before 8 o'clock last night at a home on Avenue Q near 52nd Street. Orko Mana spoke with the family today. He is live from the Galveston Police Department with the latest. Orko.
Well, Sherman, the mother of the woman who died, told me over the phone that she heard the gunshots last night and said it was a complete surprise. She's wondering why her granddaughter could have done something like this, and that's the question police and neighbors want answered to. Galveston police descending on Avenue Q near 52nd Street last night after neighbors heard multiple gunshots. Investigators say a 34-year-old woman identified as Tia Moya Moore was found shot at a home. She was taken to the hospital where she died. According to police, witnesses told them the suspect was Moore's 16-year-old daughter. Have you noticed any previous issues at the home?
No.
That's what makes the shooting all the more surprising for neighbor Graciela Molina, who lives across the street. She says she was checking her mail last night when she heard yelling.
She was screaming. She was screaming. And I hear boom, 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 boom. Like, I hear 5.
Bullet holes visible in the walls of the home and other nearby houses. This neighbor says he was startled by the gunfire.
Yes, I was in the kitchen and I hear the shots and we come out and then all the police cars.
Galveston police say they were told the 16-year-old ran from the home after the shooting, but as they were processing the scene, she came back and was taken into custody.
This area is
she ain't had nowhere to go.
It's not really that. This street is kind of
busy.
She
ran away out of fear and had nowhere to go.
Cecily Henderson with the Resource and Crisis Center of Galveston County says when it comes to avoiding family violence, communication is key. What can parents and kids do to talk to each other to avoid it getting to this point?
Right. De-escalation techniques, keep talking to your kids. Even if they don't want to talk to you, just keep going back and back.
The 16-year-old is being held at the Juvenile Justice Center for the offense of murder. Police say it's still unclear what led up to the shooting and the investigation is ongoing. Reporting live from Galveston, Orko Mana, KHOU 11 News.
Jeez, yeah, they don't know what happened, but yeah, like they said, she ran away. She was after the shot. She ran away because she was scared, and she came back. It sounds like me. She came back because she had nowhere else to go. So she came back. Let's get over into this next video.
Tonight at 9, loved ones are speaking out after Galveston police say a mother was shot and killed. Authorities say, by her daughter. Fox 26's Leslie Delaspore spoke with the family about how they're processing the pain.
A 16-year-old is now in custody facing murder charges, according to Galveston police, who say she allegedly shot and killed her mother, 34-year-old Tia Moya Moore. One family member told me she's not only heartbroken, but confused.
The last couple of days, I've been feeling like I'm losing my mind. I was questioning, like, why? Why would you do this to your own mama? I just can't believe she's gone, for real.
When you got the news,
I was devastated. Devastated. Didn't want to believe it. Tia will give you the shirt literally off of her back. Tia loved her kids, would do anything for her kids. She was very spiritual, very into God, changed her life around for God. I just want to know what really, like, what caused for that to get to this point to where you had to take your own mama's life.
Galveston police say just before 8, they responded here to Avenue Q, where they found the 34-year-old down on her porch with multiple gunshot wounds.
Suspect, it was reported at the time by witnesses that the suspect had fled the scene. While the location in the 5100 block of Avenue Q was an ongoing crime scene, at some point while investigators were there and performing their investigative duties, the suspect came back up on location, and she was taken into custody at that time.
Alicia tells me the family is processing this loss, including Tia Moya's other 4 children, who are now without a big sister and a mom.
Wow. If a child is troubled, then a child is troubled. You can only help them so much. I was so mad at first, but as I got to talking to people and actually just thinking about what might have really happened, or mental health is real. It's gonna take me a lifetime to get over this.
Galveston police say the 16-year-old is in custody without bond. Reporting in Galveston, Leslie Delasport, Fox 26 News.
Absolutely wild. I was just looking to see if we can find any more information about this, but they still don't have a motive for what happened. I still don't see a motive about what happened. Let me do one more quick search. But it's hard to think about what could, I don't even have an idea of what, well, arguments, they could have been arguing. I don't know what can happen, but geez, yeah, they still don't have an idea of any motives. They haven't released it. They haven't released any information about a motive. But tell me your thoughts. Could have been an argument. That's the main thing I'm thinking. Like she said, the neighbor said they heard some yelling, so they was arguing. Where did she get the gun from? That's my question. Where did she get the gun from? Was it the mother's gun? Did she grab it? Did she already have a gun? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but at the end of the day, she has to go to jail. She has to go to jail for her actions. She has to be punished for her actions. I mean, maybe if they find out that it was some kind of self-defense, then she can get she doesn't need to go to jail. But if it was just murder, then there's nothing else to say. She has to go to jail. Let me know your thoughts, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said, or if you have an idea, or if you have a guess of what the motives could have been. Yeah. But we'll keep up with this story to see what they release, what they actually charge her with, and how much time do you think she should get? How much time do you think she should get? It's a cold world. It's a cold world, y'all. It's a cold world. But absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But we gotta go over to Texas. Let's get over into Texas. And it looks like Governor Abbott signed a Sharia law banning for a community that was trying to develop just a Muslim-only community. Let's get over into this and see what it's talking about. But yeah, let's get over into this, and then we'll talk about it and see what we're thinking.
Governor Abbott signed a bill banning Sharia law, the legislation created after a religious rights battle erupted in Collin County. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. Governor Abbott was in North Texas for that bill signing banning residential properties from creating Sharia law compounds. This comes after state Republican leaders raised concerns about a Muslim-centric development plan in Collin County called Epic City. Fox 4 Stephen Dial is there and has more. Stephen.
Clarice, Governor Abbott says that this law was needed, in his words, to prevent discrimination based on religion. As you mentioned, some lawmakers were concerned in past bills after the East Plano Islamic Center had plans to make a development for people of the Muslim faith in Josephine. Now, while Sharia law is not mentioned in this bill language the governor signed Friday, he says it intends to ban residential property developments like Epic City from creating Sharia law compounds. Abbott said that this law is not targeting Muslims. He says it prevents any housing discrimination on the basis of any religion.
Regardless of which religion it is, people are not going to be able to establish these comprehensive, large-scale developments that limit only people of one religious belief to that area. And you can only buy if you're part of that religion. You can only steal if you're part of that religion. Religious discrimination is in violation of Texas law.
Now, the plan for the development included 1,000 homes, a mosque, and school. The developers for the community say that people from all religions will be welcome. In June, the U.S. Department of Justice closed an investigation into Epic City. Now, there have still been multiple state investigations into this type of development, and it's important to note that the lawyers representing those for this development say that this is what they call racial profiling.
Stephen Dial reporting live. Stephen, thank you.
Let's get over into this next video and let's hear about it. The Muslim community reacts to this.
Governor Abbott traveled to McKinney to sign a new law limiting property developments from excluding residents based on religion. Maria Guerrero has details on the governor's visit and the reaction from the Muslim community.
The ban on Sharia law in Texas is now strengthened.
The ceremonial signing met with cheers in McKinney. Governor Abbott flanked by lawmakers who pushed through HB 4211 in response, they say, to Epic City, a Muslim-centric community planned on the edge of Collin County, accused of housing discrimination.
This law prevents them from creating no-go zones. It prevents them from selling or renting land only to people who follow Islam.
Collin County State Rep Candy Noble co-authored the bill, citing Epic City's own words.
They said, we will limit sales to only persons we believe will contribute to the overall makeup of our community.
All lies, argues Epic City's attorney, Dan Cogdell.
I mean, simply put, Governor Abbott couldn't find the truth with respect to Epic with a CNI dog, a search warrant, and a citing.
It requires disputes to be resolved by Texas law and Texas courts, not Sharia law.
There's no Sharia compounds, as he would call it. He doesn't even know what Sharia is.
The DFW Council on American Islamic Relations also calling out the rhetoric as hurtful and dangerous.
Sharia law would generally be defined as requiring people to comply with either the rules of Sharia, the rules of Islam, the rules of a local mosque.
What are you guys hearing that people are interpreting Sharia law to be?
Sharia is some type of dark, mystic political system that would require everybody to wear burqas, and their sons would be terrorists and so forth and so on. All this propaganda that goes with it.
HB 4211 in place, Epic City's attorney says the project is absolutely moving forward.
And so I would say just encourage the governor to try to pull us together and quit this foolishness, because that's what it is.
In Collin County, Maria Guerrero, NBC5.
Okay. Yep. So I had a question. What exactly was Sharia law? Basically, it's a system of morals and legal guidances for the Muslim, derived from the Quran and the Sunni. It addresses a wide range of life aspects, including faith, family manner, finances, and public conduct, aimed to promote human welfare and a life in accordance with God's will. And interpretations of Sharia varies among different Islamic schools of thought and among Muslim majority countries, leading to diverse applications of these principles in both private and government contexts. So I didn't know that, but this made me think about, you remember the whites only community returning to the land up in, I think it was Arkansas. So I just found a video. Well, not just found it, but we have a video that we can look at. We're going to skip forward. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but this is of the leader of that. So let's go over to up to what does that say? 220.
We let our women go.
The Garden of Eden.
Yeah. No, it all goes back to the same kind of core principle.
So what's your end game with this community you started? Where do you see this going?
I'd like to see a network of white American communities, communities for people of European descent who decide positively this is worth preserving. You know, if someone's a civic nationalist and they care about the values of America and they don't care about their race, that's okay. But I think in this day and age, with the problems in the wider society, and I don't think it's going to turn around. I think a lot of these things are baked into the cake, and America's going to get worse over time. It's going to get more dangerous. And so if you want to take responsibility, you better have some kind of community. You know, if race is not the thing for you, religion's not the thing for you, find something that defines you and gives you an identity. I'm for identitarian, intentional communities just because the world's going to hell.
Yeah.
You know? So I think all groups should do that. And I think if enough groups do it and actually make those lifestyle changes, because we are where we are because of all of our collective sin and laziness and bad habits and drug use. And it's not just like we had a couple bad presidents. It's not just the Jews. It's not just anybody else. It's us making bad decisions. And to turn that around, we have to change the way we live. And a lot of how you live flows from how your cities are organized, how your kids are educated, stuff that really comes down to how are you forming your communities. And right now, the market decides that. You know, people with money who are trying to make money build these developments. They put all these appealing businesses and big, colorful signs all around us to try to make us spend money and care about money. And then we ignore deeper values that are actually foundational. So I think intentional communities are the way to solve that, not building around commerce and profit, but building around identity and values. And if we get a big network, you know, I want to work with Black intentional communities and Jewish intentional communities and other groups who want to do similar things, and then secure our collective rights to do that, and maybe even get the government to help us do that. If you think about it, like our community, we're building our own roads. That's work that the government doesn't have to do for us. We can do a lot of things for ourselves and save the government money. So actually, America could be stronger if it incentivized in some ways communities like ours.
Yeah, old liberal idea. What was that? Do what you can. What did Jeff Kennedy say?
You're gonna butcher the hell out of that. You're gonna butcher the hell out of that.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what your country can do. What you can do for your country.
Right.
Yeah, Jeff K.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so
that's a great principle to live by.
Yeah, so if you have this success with white communities, you was thinking maybe starting Black-only communities that have the same values as your community?
Well, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to start those communities, but I think we should have an association, like a
you could mentor
political action conference or something like that. Some body that spread the best practices for legally organizing private communities like this. It's a place to share knowledge, share legal research, and then ultimately lobby government, just like Israel lobbies government for its interest. I think intentional communities, it's good for the government. It's good for us, culturally speaking. It's a way of healing our broken people, like how many men are committing suicide, how many women are on OnlyFans. There's so many systemic problems in our population in all races. I think this is potentially a political way forward, right? Elon Musk, interestingly, is very big on intentional communities too, more from this like techno-futurist perspective where they're going to be domed and robots everywhere.
Yeah, you got to be an android to live in this community. Have robot.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, but some other people think he's the Antichrist.
I don't know.
I don't think so. There's a new giveaway.
Well, what is the difference? That is my question. So you got in Texas, they had the Sharia law the Sharia law banning that governor. That's not what it's called, but that's what he's saying about it. But the banning to where the Muslims could not start a Muslim-only community. But then you got up in Arkansas where the return to the land, where it's a white-only European descent community. Yeah, tell me your thoughts, y'all. Is there a difference? It sounds like that he wants this person for the leader of the return to the land. He just said that he would want to work with people who wants to start their own self-identifying community. So Black only, Jewish, anything like that. Well, what is the difference? Now, do I think? See, I think my main thing is I think they're limiting themselves. I think when you only stick to one community, or you only have one same type of person in the community, you're limiting yourself. I think people of different backgrounds, different races, different creeds, different religions, bring different aspects, and that can open your mind to different things. But that is my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts. Do you think there's a difference between what Arkansas is doing and what the return to the land and what the Muslim community is doing in North Texas or in Texas? But I just thought, as soon as I seen that what they were talking about with the Muslim community, it made me immediately think back to this when they released this about returns to the land. But let me know your thoughts, everybody. Let me know your thoughts. Now we're going to pivot over into, so we got a woman. We're going to pivot over to a woman who has gotten sentenced to 113 years. Yes, a woman has been sentenced to 113 years. Let's get over into that, where a woman has been sentenced to 113 years. Let's get into it.
We started looking at our headlines here with breaking news. IMPD homicide detectives have arrested a woman for the murder of 3 people in Broad Ripple last summer. That shooting led to an effort by the city, police, and local business owners to improve safety in the village.
And today,
so this is from back a year ago, but let's get it. Let's get into it.
This announcement is the first real break in the case. Fox 59's Russ McQuaid joins us from the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, where those charges were just announced.
And good afternoon. That shooting early on a Sunday morning, June 25th, happened, police say, on the sidewalk along Broad Ripple Avenue when a woman claims somebody knocked her hat off her head, and investigators say she chose to pull out a firearm and shoot back.
Wait.
It was after 2 a.m. on a Sunday, and Broad Ripple was still hopping when Kara Hines said someone struck her in the back of the head and knocked off her hat. Upon intensive questioning and finding out there was security video of the shooting, Hines admitted to police that she did fire her gun that night and felt like she was defending herself. 3 people, Taiwan Henning, Christopher Wilson, and Kalia Preer, died of gunshot wounds.
Y'all see this? This is a year ago now. Someone knocked her hat off her head, and she turned around and shot 3 people. Shot and killed 3 people. Absolutely crazy.
And a 4th is still recovering. Hines is charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 count of reckless homicide, and 3 other felonies. Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears said it was a combination of big crowds, drinking, and guns that led to the killings.
You had a situation that occurred in Broad Ripple very late in the evening, densely populated area, number of individuals there. There was a lot of drinking going on, and you cannot ignore the fact that there were way too many people who were armed that night. We recovered multiple firearms from the scene that were not even involved in this particular shooting.
Now, investigators say that Hines had enough time to assess her surroundings, pick out her targets, and fire. Preer was shot, likely in the crossfire between the targets and Hines. Those targets who shot back, they died that night, so of course you can't file any charges against them. And as you heard the prosecutors say, many guns were recovered out on Broad Ripple Avenue that night. Investigators say they recovered the murder weapon from Hines' apartment last month. I asked IMPD Assistant Chief Kendall Adams if he was surprised by the number of firearms on a regular basis that are on Broad Ripple Avenue on a Saturday night or even other parts of this town. He says his officers find lots of guns every day in Indianapolis. Live at the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
All right, Russ, thank you so much.
Absolutely crazy. But she has now recently been sentenced. So let's get over into this video.
Tonight at 5, a woman convicted of killing 3 people in Broad Ripple will now spend the rest of her life behind bars.
A judge sentenced Kara Hines to 113 years in prison. Our Jenna Webster was there in the courtroom.
Sentencing hearings are always emotional, and this one was no different. We heard from 7 different family members, a sister saying Kara Hines needs to stay in jail, because at least she gets to eat, at least she gets to breathe, at least she gets to call home. Family arrived to court wearing shirts, sweatshirts, and pins, all memorializing their loved ones. A jury convicted Hines of killing Taiwan Henning, Kalia Prier, and Christopher Lee Wilson Jr. It happened in Broad Ripple in the summer of 2023. Hines has claimed self-defense after she says she was punched in the back of the head while at a large party in Broad Ripple. No cameras were allowed in the courtroom. Every seat was filled, and tears and anger were seen on the stand. Family calling Hines a cold-blooded murderer, heartless, and grieving 3 lives cut too short.
It was heartfelt. Just hearing everybody, tell how what everybody meant to them and all of that. And just to know that all 3 families will never have, those people in their lives ever again.
Outside the courtroom, relief after the sentence was read.
I'm just grateful. I've been praying for this whole entire 2-year process, and I'm just grateful that God delivered, not just for Chris, but for Kalia, for Taiwan, for all of us.
It's a big relief to know that justice was served, but justice is still not going to bring our family member back.
Chris's sister on the stand said all she wanted the last 2 years was an apology from Hines. Hines herself called this a heart-shattering journey for everyone involved and said she was not in Broad Ripple that night to cause harm. In Indianapolis, Jenna Webster, 13 News.
Now, after that shooting in 2023, some Broad Ripple businesses started to close earlier. Police started to block off parking lots and added lights and cameras to some of the problem areas, all as efforts to prevent parties and violence.
But 113 years. 113 years. All because someone knocked your hat off and you turn around and start shooting 3 people. Now I'm assuming she's eligible for parole at half the time, maybe. So 60 years, a little less than 16 years, a little less than 60 years. She can be eligible. How old is she? She looks about 20 something. 80. If she's eligible for parole, you threw away your life. You threw away your life, and now you can never be out with regular population again until at least till you're old and can't do anything. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now I was looking at some of these comments in this one. Some people were saying that, well, that's just a waste on the taxpayers' money. Now tell me your thoughts. Do you having these long sentences where they stay in jail for life? How do you feel about that? Absolutely crazy. But yep, she's got to spend the next rest of her life. It ain't gonna be 100 years, but next 60 to 80 years in jail. That's all she will ever know. Absolutely tragic, y'all. Absolutely, well, tragic for the people who lost their lives, but you do the crime, you have to do the time. Her time is 113 years. And then they'll probably say it in months too. So we're sure shoot how many, oh my God, I just want to see how many months is that? I can do the calculation. Yeah, so imagine you're on the stand. They're reading out your sentences. We are sentencing you to 1,356 months in jail. Wow, absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. But let me know your thoughts on that whole situation. Do you feel like that she needs to be? Do you feel like she eligible? Do you feel like she should be eligible for parole at 60 years, or just no parole? And how do you feel about her being in jail for that long? Would you have rather just had her go to the getting the, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that whole situation. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world, but you never know when you just trying to doesn't sound like they was messing with somebody. When you mess with somebody, just don't mess. That's the simple thing, is just don't mess with people. Because it sounds like it's a horrible thing and she deserves to be in jail for it, but You would have never thought that you just knocking over somebody's hat, knocking someone's hat off their head, will end up you being dead. And then she did the terror. You never know what links people will go to, what will make somebody snap. So you got to be careful. You have to be careful, everybody. But absolutely crazy, everybody. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts. What is the world? Oh, hold on. See, stuff is starting to get confused. But we got to pivot over into the next thing we're getting into today. So speaking of women criminals, we got to go over to a massive fentanyl bust. There's a massive fentanyl bust, and a woman was arrested while having so much fentanyl, and her kids were still in the car. And they say the amount of fentanyl that was seized is enough to kill 12 million people. Yes, I said it, enough to kill 12 million people. But let's get right over into it and see what this is talking about. Absolutely crazy. Let's get into it.
Also, a woman who was arrested with a lot of fentanyl. Now, just how much fentanyl? We're going to discuss that with our Tyler Fingert, who joins us live. And Tyler, I understand it was enough fentanyl to kill upwards of 12 million people.
Yeah, Ariel, good afternoon to you. That's right. According to prosecutors and according to her arrest warrant, this woman was found with nearly 25 kilograms of fentanyl. And so you may be wondering, what does that look like in pounds? That's roughly 57 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill more than 12 million people, which is everyone in the state of Georgia. And they also say that she is linked to a Mexican drug cartel. I want to show you what this woman looks like. We just got her mugshot within the last about hour or so from the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office. This is 34-year-old Celia Lara Rios. She was arrested back in July in Gwinnett County by Auburn police. She was supposed to appear in a Gwinnett County courtroom this afternoon about an hour ago, but a short time ago, her attorney told the judge that they were withdrawing her request for bond. Here's what we know. According to Lara Rios' arrest warrant, Auburn police say she was found with 24.9 kilos of fentanyl. Investigators say she was trafficking the drug and is linked to the Jalisco New Generation cartel. Prosecutors say when she was arrested, she had a child in the car with her. According to the DEA, Lara Rios was found with enough fentanyl to kill more than 12 million people. Officials say it takes just 2 milligrams to potentially kill a person.
We looked at that
It's
before.
unclear if the amount seized was all fentanyl or if it was mixed in with other drugs. Again, she was supposed to appear inside a courtroom here at the Gwinnett County Justice Center, but during that hearing, the defense attorney came up and said they decided to withdraw that motion for bond. It's unclear exactly why that happened. It's also unclear when she will be appearing in court once again, but this is a story we're going to be following. I should also mention she did request bond and did file a motion for bond, but according to the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, she has an ICE hold, so it's unclear even if she would have been even given bond in this case.
Yeah, Tyler, very interesting. And, you know, for those who are streaming along with us or just joining, this arrest happened in Gwinnett County. And the Jalisco cartel that you were just mentioning, that cartel in the state of Jalisco there in Mexico, is one that we've heard a lot about in the news because we've actually been discussing some different news conferences that we know our Attorney General Pam Bondi has held with different updates regarding fentanyl and other drugs that law enforcement has been able to seize. So as we look at this case, what are the next steps for investigators and this woman as she progresses through the justice system?
Yeah, so that's actually obviously a really good question. This was a bond hearing, so eventually she's going to have to appear before. They're going to have a preliminary hearing at some point, possibly another bond hearing if the defense attorney decides that they want to file another motion for bond. So we'll have to wait and see to see how all of this unfolds. But obviously this is a big story, and I'll tell you, this arrest happened back in July, as I mentioned, but we really didn't even hear about this case until yesterday when the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office was talking about this to say that there's a big case that they're going to have today, a bond hearing, and they were recommending media outlets come out here, and that's why we're out here, and we were learning the new details today when we were able to obtain that arrest warrant from the Gwinnett County Clerk of Courts, and then when I saw the eye-popping number of 24,900 and some odd grams, which then transitions to about 24.9 kilograms of fentanyl, you just know that that is a huge amount. And again, she's accused of trafficking this. So this is going to be a big case that they really want to be able to prosecute and really want to make an example of this person, especially since they say she is connected to a Mexican drug cartel.
Tyler, yeah, and just incredible to think, too, she had a child in the car with her with all of this. You were speaking a little bit about just how little, the small amount of these drugs it can take to kill someone. Incredible to think the amount in her car could have affected the population of the state of Georgia. But when you look at these small amounts, to think there was a child in the car and that volume of drugs, it's just incredible.
Yeah, with fentanyl, I mean, if you think about grains of salt, I believe it's like 5 to 7 grains of salt is enough to kill someone. And what's so interesting about this, when 57 pounds is roughly what prosecutors say she had in, for people at home who use obviously our imperial system instead of the metric system, 57 pounds. If you are boarding an aircraft in the United States, you are allowed to check a bag up to 50 pounds and you pay more for 70 pounds. So if you think about that, that could be a suitcase size of fentanyl that they had in, that they ended up finding her with. And it's unclear whether it was pills or what kind of form this was in, but obviously this is a big concern for the folks in Gwinnett County and the different law enforcement agencies involved in this as they tried to obviously prosecute this case.
Tyler, thank you so much. That analogy was great to put it in perspective because, yeah, if you're trying to conceptualize, well, how heavy is this amount of grams? To think about it in a suitcase you'd bring to the airport, that is quite heavy. So Tyler Fingert, thank you so much for the update on this story. I'm sure you're going to be on top of it as it progresses.
Absolutely wild. 24.9 kilograms of fentanyl. But let's get over into this article. So let's zoom in some so everybody can see. So like we said, that's her. When she was taken into custody, prosecutors said Laura Rizos had a child in the car, like we mentioned. That's crazy. That's one of the craziest parts. Because there's one little accident, and the child could, because the child like to put things in their mouth. Maybe she was taught differently, but one little accidental slip up where she grabs something she thinks it's candy, she puts it in her mouth, the child would have been gone. Absolutely crazy. So you could have put child endangerment in there, but now she faces 2 felony charges. Trafficking and more. So that's one charge: trafficking morphine, opium, or heroin in excess of 28 grams, and using communication facilities in the commission of a felony involved controlled substance. It says that she's being held on an ICE detainer, and authorities described the bus as one of the largest fentanyl seizures in Georgia. Yeah, like she said, it was 24,958 grams of fentanyl, enough to kill 12 million people. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like I've said before, anybody who's trafficking or anything deals fentanyl deserves to be sentenced to the maximum because it's so deadly. They don't care, and you got to make an example out of them. You have to make an example out of them. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Wow. Well, now she's in jail for the rest of. She might be in jail for the rest of her life, probably. And then she's gonna get, because she's on an ICE detainer. So I don't know how all that process is gonna take, but they're gonna make an example out of her. They are going to make an example out of her. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how much time you think she should get. Now, maybe she was having the kid in the car. She was probably thinking, If I get stopped, they're not going to do too much because we got a kid in the car. Absolutely crazy. Now we got to get over to, speaking of kids, we got to get over to another thing. This is horrible, but a teacher has been accused of assaulting an elementary school student. There are some sick demons in this world. There are some demons in this world. But we got 2 videos to watch of this. So let's get over into it and see what this is about.
Tonight, a teacher at Peach Creek Elementary is behind bars. Investigators say he sexually abused 2 of his 7-year-old students. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman is outside Peach Creek Elementary after digging through court documents.
Well, a teacher here at Peach Creek Elementary is accused of sexually assaulting 2 of his students inside the school. Renee Jesus Tavera Arengo was arrested and charged for aggravated sexual assault of a child. Tavera has worked at Peach Creek Elementary for the past 2 years and held previous positions at 2 other area school districts over the past 14 years. Now, we learned new details in this disturbing case. According to court documents, 2 students were sexually abused by their first grade teacher, Tavera, on multiple occasions inside the school. A 7-year-old girl came forward alleging that Tavera touched her inappropriately several times last year in a classroom at his desk. A second victim made similar allegations, and authorities say Tavera was grooming the second victim by giving her money for snacks and putting money in her lunch account. Right now, Tavera is currently in custody and is held on a $250,000 bond. Splendora ISD notified families about this, saying that the employee was placed on administrative leave immediately when they were made aware of this serious matter. Now, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office said that this individual was entrusted with the care and education of children and chose to abuse that position. Now, the Sheriff's Office is urging anyone with information or who may have been a victim to contact their Special Victims Unit. I'm Jillian Hartman, Fox 26 News.
Absolutely disgusting. There are some sick individuals in this world, and I've said this before. Doesn't matter what position that they are in, but you never know who can be like this. Absolutely terrible. Let's get over into this next video and see what else we can find out. God.
Court documents reveal disturbing details about a Splendora ISD teacher accused of sexually assaulting some of his first grade students.
Renee Tavera Arengo was arrested yesterday. Authorities say there could be other victims, and they're urging parents to talk with their kids.
Stephen Goen is live in Montgomery County with more on all of this. Stephen.
Sherman, we know this teacher was placed on administrative leave from his job when these allegations were made about a week ago, but he's also being investigated by the Texas Education Association. All of that, of course, in addition to his criminal charges. We want to warn you, the facts of this case are disturbing. 70-year-old Renee Tavera Arengo, now in jail, accused of harming the Splendora ISD students he was supposed to be teaching.
A child under the age of 13 touched on a sexual organ. That's what the charge is. That's what aggravated sexual assault of a child is, and that's what he's in jail for right now.
The alleged assaults happened last school year at the old Peach Creek Elementary School campus. However, the students involved didn't speak up until just this month.
They just made those outcries to the school district, and immediately they contacted the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. We partnered with them.
According to the court records, a 7-year-old who had Tavera as a first grade teacher claimed that he would inappropriately touch her. She said it happened multiple times, sometimes while standing at his desk turning in assignments. That victim allegedly saw Tavera do the same things to another girl.
We trusted this person to educate our children. We trusted them to educate them, protect them, and I believe he violated that trust.
Today, officials at Splendora ISD told us that Tavera was placed on administrative leave on September 3rd when the allegations were brought to light. But he has worked in other schools, in Cleveland ISD and Navasota ISD. According to a 2023 Facebook post on the Peach Creek Elementary page, Tavera previously taught 5th grade, kindergarten, and pre-K. Investigators now urging parents to talk to their children as they believe there could be more victims.
Establish what is appropriate boundaries that you should have with an educator, and if they believe those boundaries were violated, I think it's important that they come forward.
That is 100% correct. Talk to your kids about what is appropriate. You should have already been talking to them. If anyone touches you here in these areas, tell me immediately. I don't care what they say. I don't care if they say they're going to hurt me, anything like that. I don't care. Tell me immediately. But the kids still can be scared, and it might take some time for them to open up to you. But hopefully that they will come. If you explain to them, yes, this is immediately wrong. If anybody does that, I don't care if they're lying to you if they're saying that they're going to hurt me. They just don't want you to tell them because they'll get in trouble. Explain that to them. But the younger they are, they won't understand that like that. He was charged with that's the whole point of a teacher. You think you can let your kids be with the teacher, and he's going to look after them, teach them, guide them how teachers are supposed to. Awful. Absolutely crazy. Let's finish up this video.
Now, Tavera is still being held on a $250,000 bond. Anyone with information about this case is asked to call the sheriff's office. We're live in Montgomery County. Stephen Goen, KHOU 11 News.
Hopefully he is not able to pay that bond, because like 10%. So he has $250,000. He has to pay $25,000 or put it down $25,000. That's a very sick individual. Elementary school, and we don't know the extent of his abuse. He's worked in multiple schools. It's hard to think that this is just the only time he's done this. It could have been, but he's worked. I think they said he was worked for schools for like 20 years. Oh my God. Yeah, some people are very sick. And some people deserve to be in jail for the rest of their lives. I can't imagine. Truly can't. But you know what happens in prison to child molesters. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, just at the end of the day, y'all, please talk to your kids. Explaining them what's right and from wrong. For all things. All things. Explain them right from wrong. You need to be teaching your kids right from wrong. Who can, what, especially in things like this where they should have known. Yeah, if someone ever touches you here, anywhere on your body, I don't care if they threaten me, let me know. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts on that whole situation. And we'll keep up with this to see exactly what he gets charged with. Hopefully, any victims who have been dealing with this come forward. And then hopefully all the victims get help. Because dealing with this and just bearing it is not the answer. It will pop up and then you never know what would happen. Never know what can happen. But let's pivot over. We're going to pivot over to the last thing for today. It looks like NASA. So we got to get into some science news. As an engineer, I love to get into science stuff. So it looks like NASA has made a major discovery on Mars. And it looks like the signs of life. That's what they're saying. Signs of life. So let's get over into that and finish it up for today. But I've always said, there's got to be the universe is so wide, ever expanding, that yes, I do think there is some alien life out there. I don't know if it's like the green man with the head, but some kind of alien life. It's some kind of alien bacteria or something. Even because that is a form of life. But let's get over into it.
A year ago, we thought we found what we believe to be signs of microbial life on the Mars surface.
Yeah.
And after a year of review, they've come back and they said, listen, we can't find another explanation. So this very well could be the clearest sign of life that we've ever found on Mars.
Pretty incredible. That was acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy at a press conference this week announcing some very exciting news about possible life on Mars.
Yeah, NASA's Perseverance rover collecting a rock sample that could offer proof of ancient life right there on the red planet. Here to tell us more is JPL project scientist Dr. Katie Stack Morgan. Dr. Morgan, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about this. So NASA revealing some big findings here this week thanks to the Perseverance rover, as we said. Tell us the name of this mission and about the launch.
Yeah, so this is the Mars 2020 Perseverance rover mission. It launched in July of 2020, landed on the surface of Mars in February of 2021, and has been exploring the surface of Mars for over 4 years.
Okay. And so the Perseverance rover collected a sample that your team has studied for the last year. This is the big discovery potentially, right? This possible ancient microbial life. Where did you find it and how did you know it was noteworthy?
Yeah, so this sample comes from Jezero Crater, which is the landing site and exploration area of the Perseverance rover. It was the site of an ancient lake, and the sample that we're talking about came from an ancient river valley where water was once rushing into this Martian crater and depositing sediments here, and that's where we found this really interesting sample.
So the rock sample has what NASA is calling leopard spots on it. So tell us why that's so significant and what that actually means.
Yeah, so the features look like leopard spots, that's why we call them that, but they're actually the result of a chemical reaction between water, iron in the rocks, and organic molecules, basically the building blocks of life.
Okay.
And these form reaction rims that look a lot like leopard spots.
Now, the findings have been studied by scientists around the world, and I know that's continuing too, but could there be another explanation for the leopard spots? Like, it's not proof of life, right? That's one theory.
That's right. We're calling this a potential biosignature because there are ways to form these kinds of textures without life. However, it's harder. And if we'd found these targets, this kind of feature on Earth, we would have no trouble saying, oh, microbes did this. But on Mars, the bar is higher, and we have to be careful about that. So we are considering other ways these could have formed, but life is certainly a possibility.
So this possibility is big news, as we were saying, but what kind of impact could this have on future missions right there on the giant red planet?
Right, well, Perseverance rover is part of a potential future Mars sample return campaign to bring rocks from Mars back to Earth. So we have this really compelling and exciting sample that may have a sign of life in it. And the hope is that we'll send future missions to Mars to bring this sample back home for further study.
But what's the significance of that there was possible ancient microbial life? And this was an area where you said that you believe water flowed 3 billion years ago. What does all of that mean?
Right, well, the question of whether there is life beyond our own planet is one of the most fundamental questions we've ever asked. And this sample from Mars could answer that question, and that would be paradigm shifting in terms of how we think of our place in the universe.
It's kind of like an episode, a TV episode. I'm tuned into the drama. I want to know what happens next. We know that the rover can't return to Earth, right? So how do we plan on bringing that sample back? What happens? The mystery.
Yes, well, that's really the question right now. I think Perseverance is not coming back to Earth. It will stay on Mars forever. But there's discussion of sending future robotic missions to pick up this sample and bring it back to Earth. There's also talk of whether astronauts could do it.
So we'll have to tune in to the
That's
next
right.
episode.
Yes.
All right.
And I'm also curious, how big is the rock and how do you study it from however many millions of miles away we are from Mars?
Hundreds of millions of miles
away. Jeez.
Yeah, so the rock sample that the Perseverance rover collected is about the size of my pinky. It's a small amount of rock. It's about the mass of a golf ball. But scientists can do a lot with the rock, even that small, if we bring it back to Earth. But of course, the river valley is hundreds of meters wide. So it's a big river valley, but the rock itself that we collected is quite small.
But how do they study it from here? It's through cameras or video cameras?
So the Perseverance rover is super capable. It's like a roving geologist, a roving astrobiologist. It has cameras, it has spectrometers, so it can analyze rocks robotically without us on the surface of Mars, looking for signs of life similarly to how we do it here on Earth.
incredible.
I have one more question. So this was a big week for NASA as well. We heard Sean Duffy talking about this mission, but he also talked about the second space race. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, well, as a scientist, I support any planetary exploration and international collaboration. That being said, we have a collection of samples that Perseverance has collected. It's fantastic and compelling, and I think we have a potential sign of life on Mars, and NASA has a chance to do this first and to do it right. And the question is, do we want to take that opportunity?
Well, we will leave our viewers with that question, right? Go ponder that. Thank you for being on with us, Dr. Morgan. We really appreciate it. We'll be following all the exciting scientific news from your team at JPL. For more information on the Perseverance rover, findings on Mars, you can visit jpl.nasa.gov. We'll be right back.
Wow, that is wild. I did not know. So, as they mentioned before, the Perseverance rover went up and was launched in 2020, July or June of 2020, and it made it to Mars in January. Well, let's go. Perseverance rover. Let's go. So I say everything right. So as we can, let me pull up so you can see what I'm looking at. So the Perseverance rover, we can see Mars 2020. Oh, we got a diagram. Wow. They really do a lot. So as you can see, let me zoom in some for everybody. So this is the Perseverance Mars rover. You got suspension. Oh, you can do clicks through. See NASA doing it. Laser micro imaging. Wow. That's wild. But this rover basically it took about a little less than a year to get to Mars. And they were studying a crater that had water in it billions of years ago. And it looks like they found a sample that is highly likely that it was made by microbacteria, microorganisms, billions of years ago. So they want to bring it back to the United States and NASA. But it takes a lot of work to get to Mars. They got to either do it robotically or maybe even possibly send some astronauts up there. Now we got to be careful because they also said that this process can be formed by natural phenomenon, but it's a lot harder. It's a lot easier. The process is a lot easier if it was just formed by microorganisms. But absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. I always like to look at things about space and aliens. Now, I truly believe that there are aliens out there. Like I've said before, that microorganisms, the universe is so wide and old, or so large and ever growing and so ancient, that there has to be some kind of microorganism or some kind of bacteria that have been present before in the past. But it's more stuff with more science, more things coming up. It is a very, you never know what new information we are going to find. We never know what new information we're going to find, but I think that is it. Thank you for tuning in. What's up, Leonard? Thank you for coming in. Go back and watch the rest of the show, but we talked about a lot of crazy things. A little shorter today. I'm going to start sticking to around 7 to 9 topics, like I said earlier. But hey, you never know. You never know. Tell me your thoughts, though. Tell me, do you think that this is actual a discovery, a sign of life, or do you think it's just a natural phenomenon that we are the only life on Earth? Tell me what your thoughts are. Do you think that the humans are the only life on Earth, the only life in the universe? Do you think that humans are the only life in the universe? But thank y'all all for tuning in. Like I always say, remember, this is AC Reviews the World, and I am AC the Engineer. And hey, we got to review the world together, y'all. We got to review the world together. Remember to hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe. You already know these videos will be broken down, and you already know I have to play the outro. That's it for today, y'all. But have a good rest of y'all day. Peace.